It's my American friend's first time ever in Germany.
Everything is just alive and vibrant. I go in with the expectation that the quality is, the standard for quality is going to be higher. I don't like it. Too many highways. There were a couple people who came screaming by me.
But what did he think? Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently living in Germany with our baby, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. So for the past 2 weeks, we have had one of my best friends from my childhood, Logan, visiting us from California, and this is his first time ever in Germany. So I thought it would be kind of fun at the end of his trip to talk about maybe what he thought of Germany, some of the food, the house differences, just overall, what were his perceptions before he came, and how did Germany live up to those expectations? And that's exactly what we're gonna talk about today in my video. From the beaches that are hot to beer gardens and broth. Let's start by talking about some of your food experiences while you've been in Germany. So right off the bat, when Logan got off the plane, one of the first things I did was take you to a beer garden here locally, and then that night we went to another beer garden, and those are your first ever experiences with a beer garden, correct?
In Germany. So we hit the ground, we went to the first beer garden, and I was shocked at how green, and we were sitting on a pond, there were trees all around us. Beer gardens in the States tend to be more of an environment and an atmosphere to hang out in more urban areas, I find. So when you're in a more dense area that's more walkable and lots of buildings and things like that, a beer garden is usually installed to kind of give that respite of like space and elbow room and walk around and eat outside and enjoy the weather. So that's certainly true in Germany, that the benefit, of course, is that you're outside and the feeling of that. I think there was an element of like community that you could feel. Like the first beer garden I walk into, there's families over here, there's friends over here talking, all ages, and I heard multiple languages. And so you can tell that a beer garden is a community center here, and it's much more of a really open and general place to kind of enjoy food and drink.
Have you had German food in the States before?
I've had German food. German food in the States tends to be really distilled and simplified. I think everything I've had here has been much more flavorful. The first thing we had was currywurst. That was the first thing that you had me try, which I've never had before. And it was very approachable, something that I probably wouldn't have selected had you not recommended. And then, I don't know the name of the drink that we had.
Oh, a Weinschorle. So it'd be like a wine spritzer.
A white wine spritzer is what I would have called it for sure. I found that super delicious, very refreshing on an afternoon, a summer afternoon in particular. It was really hot, so that was really refreshing.
Was that something that kind of surprised you, or was interesting, the fact that you went to a beer garden and we got wine?
You know, it didn't surprise me completely, but I think most of the tables I looked around had more of alternatives, not beer.
We had no idea when we moved to Germany that wine plays such an important role in Germany, specifically in this part. For us, that was a huge shock when we moved here.
Very surprising for me as well. Makes sense now that I've tasted some of the cuisine and had some of the wine. It's delicious. And even, you know, one of the things I think I most anticipated was like smaller portions. My experience in Italy and France has been much smaller meals than we have in the States, and not the case in Germany. I found the food to be plentiful portions. And I think there's just such a quality here, a good taste in the food that comes from this place in this region, and you can always taste that kind of quality.
In general, overall, the quality of food was higher than what you get in the US?
Yeah, so in the States, for any cuisine you're having, any food that you're wanting to go for, there are certainly tiers of quality that you can choose from, and certainly the price reflects that. I think we're building more our ideas about real food, organic foods. What I find here is that I go in with the expectation that the quality is, the standard for quality is going to be higher.
So Logan works for one of the biggest food chains in the US, in California, and so he's definitely like in this world about food and quality. So your take on the food is particularly interesting, I feel like. Real quick, I want to thank all of our patrons and YouTube channel members. I really appreciate all of the support in helping me bring you this content. And if there are some of you looking for other ways to support this work, simply hitting the like and subscribe button really goes a long way, and I would appreciate you doing that. So one of my favorite things to talk about on our channel, but then also like with the guests that come, is just differences in German homes. What were some of your like initial like, whoa, that's different, or whoa, I wish we had that in the States kind of things in terms of a German house?
In California in particular, we try really hard. The weather's so good that we try really hard to have windows open, doors open, let the breeze come through. And I was so excited and pleased to find that that's pretty consistent in Germany.
Yeah, our German weather sucks, especially compared to California, but we still have windows open.
For sure. So I think one of my favorite things on the exterior of the homes is there's rarely a home that doesn't have beautiful flowers over the balconies, sort of in kind of flower baskets hanging over, and the color, the pop of color and the vibrance and the just the mood, the happy attitude that brings out is so pleasant. I loved that.
We done a video with my brother and his wife, and then also my sister and her husband when they came and visited us for the first time this year. And they always talk about, and I'm interested in seeing if you've noticed, the toilet differences.
There is less water to catch things. And, you know, I think that's just, I have to aim a little more, I think.
But Germany has these specific toilets that we have 2 of them in our house that are known as poop shelf toilets. And literally it's just a shelf that
you can't not notice that.
Yeah. And all of the guests that come, I don't warn anybody anymore about it. I just kind of want to let it happen naturally. And I start to notice that people start to gravitate away from one particular bathroom in our house because of that feature.
Yeah, I think you start deciding which toilets you want to do, you know, which.
The poop shelf toilet though. Was not your preference.
Not my preference.
Is what I'm gathering.
Yeah. That's a #1 toilet.
Yeah, it's an old-fashioned German thing that's going out of style. Our house, we do have some like older elements to them, and that's one of them. Most people don't necessarily prefer those anymore, and so you noticed we have one bathroom that's renovated, that's like more modern than the other ones, and that one has like a toilet as we would, no shelves.
No shelves in there,
But our older bathrooms still have this poop shelf toilet. If you were to guess, could you guess the reasons why those exist?
I have no guess at all.
There's about 3 main reasons why you would have those toilets.
I got nothing.
You got nothing?
I got nothing but an embarrassing couple attempts to get that cleaned off.
One, it's eco-friendly, so there's less water.
Do you need a shelf to reduce the amount of water that you put in a toilet?
No. One of the other things about not having the water is, have you ever heard of the kiss of Poseidon?
No.
So that's a term on it. If you have a bowl with water and it drops and splashes, that's called the kiss of Poseidon. So it reduces the kiss of Poseidon effect, so you don't have that splash back, I guess you could say. But also it's actually somewhat from a medical perspective. It catches it so it's up at where you can observe it, so that you can look at it and see how you're eating. So you can see like, okay, do I need to add more? Or am I dehydrated? Am I whatever? And then also some people will say like if you have a doctor's visit and they need a stool sample, that gives you that. But like, I've always wondered, like, who is going to the doctor enough where it's like, I need a dedicated toilet to collect my stool just in case my doctor needs another sample.
I don't accept that. I don't accept that one either. Can I tell you the one thing I did expect was bidets?
Oh, yeah.
I've not found a bidet in Germany.
I would be interested in finding out too from our German audience how many people actually have bidets, because that's something that also I think most Americans, when you think of Europe and bidets go hand in hand.
Definitely.
Once you cross over into France, suddenly you're in bidet country.
I think the other thing that I realize is Europe in general, but specifically Germany, I've noticed that kitchens are smaller. The appliances are smaller appliances, the space of the room. I think the States have gone to an extreme where the kitchen is maybe the priority room of the house, the largest room in the house. It's obviously not the case here. And I don't think it sets up any opportunity for kind of less community or anything like that. My thought as I've looked into some of these is that it would be really difficult to cook a big meal for a bunch of people in a German home.
Germans don't have Thanksgiving, I guess, for that.
There it is. Yeah.
It's because of their kitchen size. So tell us a little bit about your driving experiences.
My first worry was that I would not understand that the speed zone had ended and the left lane is fair game for any speed you like. And so I was very conscious to always be in the right lane because there were a couple people who came screaming by me at, no kidding, 170, 200 kilometers per hour. So
yeah,
that was pretty scary. It was something to watch for, but I did feel safe. There's a lot of commonalities between driving here and driving in the States. The signage is a little bit different, so you really got to be paying attention. But I found I found it to be pretty easy. This is the second country I've driven in that has roundabouts primarily instead of intersections. And because we don't use them very often in the States, we do have them, but certainly not a common intersection. There's always a little bit of like timidity of like, ooh, is this the, okay, no, yep, you go ahead. And so there's always that game of like, when's the right moment to enter? And then when you get in there, especially if you're going kind of 3/4 to the far side, or even like almost like 180 degrees.
Yeah.
There's always like this supreme confidence that you have to have, like, I'm going and nobody get in my way. And I always find roundabouts to be pretty exhilarating.
Yeah. Do you know what your top speed was driving on the Autobahn?
I think I hit 165 at one point.
That's so slow. So Heidelberg and Trier are big like outings for Germany. And then besides our like area, what were some of your favorite impressions of those types of places?
Heidelberg was, the first thing I think is green. Just beautiful green trees, the river going kind of right through the city. Everything is just alive and vibrant. And I certainly think of that. The view from atop the hill near the castle is stunning. It was my first day, so it delivered on kind of the classic brown top, orange top German homes. Trier was an amazing experience. The history of it all is what I really enjoyed about all of it. There's so many layers to time that are visible. You walk a single street and you'll see something from very long ago, and then a little bit newer, and then a little bit newer. And even still, the most new thing you can find is much older than we can find in the States. So that's really exciting.
Had you heard of either two of those places before you came here?
Neither. Neither spots. And I would absolutely recommend anyone traveling in this area to stop in both.
Before you came to Germany, did you come in expecting anything? And like, what were those expectations if you did?
I've been surprised at the diversity of types of terrain. When I got off the airplane and started driving kind of towards southwestern part where you live, I was shocked at the rolling green hills and specifically the vineyards. And I know from traveling some of those other day trips that the view and the terrain in these different areas is there's a lot of variety. I think I had an expectation coming here that what I would see would be pretty common for the entirety of Germany, and it certainly was not the case. So there's a lot to explore, and there's a lot of different types of places to see.
What about like, I mean, what about Germans?
My expectation was direct and straight to the point, efficient, maybe from my point of view coming across a little gruff. And I think I understand the kind of the context around that a little bit better, but I think most of those expectations were met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the Germans are kind of lived up to maybe what you imagined to some extent.
Yeah, and it's a context thing. I don't think I don't know that I spoke to anyone that was in any way intentionally rude or anything like that, but there is a directness that I'm just not used to, and you have to be ready for.
You did come in contact with Germans while you're here.
Definitely.
It wasn't purely just observing them from a distance, right?
Definitely. So we were having lunch, and you were doing a great job of talking to a lady who approached us, just having casual conversation. And you were very nice to say that he's from California and lives in Los Angeles. And she very immediately looked at me and said, I've been to Los Angeles. I don't like it. Too many highways. And that would just not be kind of how we would approach a conversation where I'm from. So it was very direct.
That's, I think,
you never wonder, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
And is it ill-intended? They're just telling their impression and feeling.
In that particular instance too, sometimes there are times where like, if you're speaking in English to a German, the thought maybe is like, well, they're speaking in their like second, maybe third language. So maybe they don't have necessarily the vocabulary to kind of like beat around the bush like an American would or something like that. So maybe that's like, they're just using the vocabulary that they have, which is a little more direct. But I was speaking German to her and she told me first off, oh, he's from California, LA. I don't like it. And then said it in English to make sure that he knew how she felt about.
Yeah, let me translate that for you in case you didn't understand what I said. I do not like it.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, you can have the opinions that you have. Sure. That's totally fine.
Of course.
But kind of as a general rule, we've also found that to be true, where it's like a German's like, I'm going to tell you my opinion. And it may be almost like you might view it as like an attack on something that you love, but I want to tell it to you.
No, I don't know anybody in LA who likes sitting on the highway and the traffic. So I very much understand the point of view. It's more just the tempo of conversation. It's just something you got to be ready for. Inversely, I would say I was surprised at how many experiences I had of not understanding what I was reading on the menu or on the sign in front of me or whomever, whatever context we were in. And Germans were very, very good and very persistent to slow down and usually translate in English of this is what you're saying, or let me explain what you're looking at, or something like that. So I found that to be really, really charming.
What would you go home and tell your friends and family about Germany or Germans or just traveling here in general?
I think it's very easy to plan your trip and think of kind of the major tentpoles. I want to go to Berlin. I want to go to Munich. I want to go drive the Autobahn. Just the typical things that we're more knowledgeable about. And I would highly encourage anyone that was traveling here to work hard to find the regionality and find the specificity in the depth of areas, because there's a lot of variety here that I just did not expect.
Which is one of our biggest takeaways from living in Germany too, that we've tried to talk a lot about in our videos. It's like, you think of Germany as the lederhosen, beer, sausage type of Germany, but there is such a wide variety here that, I mean, one short little trip to one specific part of Germany is not enough to like really know Germany. You have to spend a lot of time like, because there's so much diversity throughout Germany that there's a lot to see and explore that's really exciting.
Yeah, and for me, having spent a couple trips in France, one of the things that I really loved and would encourage is for folks to get kind of near those borders to see where cultures start kind of intersecting and overlapping, because there's wonderful things about France and there's wonderful things about Germany. And when you get in a city like Metz, where you can see both of those things, but you can kind of see them marrying, it's a very specific and really cool experience.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who knows those places could really enjoy how they start molding.
Yeah, that's something that we talked about a little bit while you were here, just how cool it is, since we live so close to like the French border, to see that cultures are not these hard lines on the map that we see and that we would think, okay, that's Germany, that's France. It's so much more blurry. And in history, I mean, that border's changed so much. So there's so much intertwining cultures there that, yeah, it's really, definitely, that's a great piece of advice, is going and seeing the borders. Yeah. You mentioned that you've been to France before. Where have you been in Europe? France, Germany now, Switzerland now.
And Italy.
If you had to, you were to rank those four.
Oh my gosh.
It's like picking your favorite of your children.
Kids. Yeah, there's genuinely, there's not one of those four I would dissuade anyone from visiting. Very different. My personal favorites, I think the beauty of Switzerland is absolutely captivating, and the Alps in general. And you get some of those flavors in Germany. You actually get some of it in France as well, in the south of France. So, you know, there's other ways you can explore that. I would put Switzerland first. A very close second for me would probably be Italy. France is probably a third for me, and that's purely a discussion about food. And the only reason I would put Germany at the back for all of those is simply because one of the biggest things that pays off in each of those other places, is particularly Italy and France, is the history behind everything that I have a knowledge of. I found anywhere that we went in Germany, I was having to ask you, like, so what happened here? And tell me, like, I think specifically in the areas we were in, we were having to have discussions about context for almost everything.
Have I told you 70% of my audience is German? And now you're ranking it last. So thanks so much to Logan for giving us his insights and thoughts on Germany. And to see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is Jack Wolfskin or North Face? Which is the superior outdoor brand? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in our next video.
I feel like I said the word delicious about 10 times.
Delicious, delicious.
I don't have a better
I'll do a counter on the screen. How many times Logan says delicious? Bing, 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 bing. Talk about some of like your driving experiences.
My
driving experiences. I don't know. Like, oh, tell us. Let me say that again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your driving experiences.